video ni ya watu wa two-term. Watu wa two-term, muka hizi viti za hapa mbele, msikize. Nyinyi watu wa one-term, mungoje huko nyuma, mutatumia watu wa two-term hii video. I want you to take your phone and Google, and you will find out. Just Google, Kenya receives 180 million euros from the World Bank. That is 30 billion shillings in 2025, around November, December. And it was specifically to help Kenya transition her children. Oh, you need to read this. To help Kenya transition her children to grade 10. Hii yenye ilikuwa inasumbua. Kenya had received 30 billion. By the way, if you take 30 billion, yani 30 na 09, and divide by 22,000, why is it 22,000? Because capitation ya high school, when we had a government that was using common sense, capitation ya ilikuwa inapatiwa high school ilikuwa 22,000 per child. So if you take 30 billion and divide by 22,000 per child, utapata kwanza, hii pesa tulipewa na World Bank. Watu wa two-term, bado mko hapo? Hii pesa tulipewa na World Bank December, ilikuwa inafaa kupeleka watoto 1.3 million to grade 10. Just you do your maths. Google, if you think I'm lying, you'll see we got 180 million euro. Na tukapromise you another 38 billion zinakuja. Watu wa two-term, bado mko hapo? Aya, wacheni niwaambie. January 2029, tunaanza kulipa hii deni. Tunaanza kulipa hii 30 billion. 800,000 kids hawakuwa wameenda shule. And when the head of state spoke in Meru, he never mentioned about this 30 billion. Alisema, and I want to quote him verbatim, watoto warudi shule kama hawako na uniform ama hawana uniform. Ile siku wazazi watapata pesa, watalipa. He never spoke about the 30 billion that we got specifically for the children who are going to grade 10 na tulipewa na World Bank. That's why uko kwetu Dagoretti South niliona watu wanasema ati tuna form group, tunachanga tupeleke watoto shule. I was like, no, pesa ya watoto iko. Ilipeanwa 2025 November, December. Na ni World Bank ilipeana. Na ilipeana specifically ya kupeleka watoto grade 10. So hii 30 billion, ukidivide by ile capitation inafaa kupewa mtoto ya 22,000 shillings. You would find that it would take 1.3 million children to school for a year. But ile kitu muhimu ni two-term, si ndio? Watu wa two-term, si tumesema nyinyi ndio mnakaa hapa kiti ya mbele. Watu wa one-term video si yenyu, lakini mnaweza tumia watu wa two-term. Just know that Kenya received in excess of 30 billion Kenya shillings, and that money was supposed to, in fact, there is a provision that we were supposed to have one classroom in every school. Sasa enda ulize mbunge wako, huyo mbunge mwenye na support two-term anazunguka huko, muulize hiyo one specific classroom ya World Bank iko wapi? Iko wapi? Read the terms, they are there for you to Google.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. But before I get you into what this podcast has for you, allow me just take a minute to tell you or remind you that your support to this channel is not taken for granted. We really appreciate for your support that you've been providing to this channel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, what I only ask from you is that if you are watching us for the first time and you've not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel and activate the notification so that next time we do a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Like our videos and comment to show your support to our work in this channel. And to those who have already subscribed to this channel, we say thank you very much for your continued support to this, our channel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, allow me take you into what this podcast has for you. Remember, after the successful assignment presentation by Kimani Ichung'wah in Naivasha, where the Education Cabinet Secretary and the Principal Secretary, as well as that Cabinet Secretary of Health, was subjected before the members of Parliament for questioning in Naivasha.
Why would a school with 100 students have 28 teachers, and the school next door has 600 students without teachers, and you have a county director of education in that sub-county. Those are the issues, yes. Because yourself and your PS, you have the most clueless PS in the Ministry of Education. Most clueless. He only sits in Nairobi and has no idea what goes on the ground. Get out of your offices in Nairobi, go to the ground, deal with the problems there. Then challenge this house, then to get the 48 billion shillings for you from the budget, and we'll deal with the problem once and for all. Otherwise, what we are doing here now is dancing around issues.
And in that, I clearly told you, that Kimani Ichung'wah only came there to do or to ensure that the presentation that was asked by the President William Ruto was done. Because there was a plan to remove him from the office, claiming that he has some incompetence cases that should be dealt with. And according to those incompetence cases, those are what will make him leave the office. Now today, the Bumula Member of Parliament, Jack Wamboka, while disbursing bursary checks at Mateka Secondary School, talked about it and called on the President, William Ruto, to remove the Education Principal Secretary, Julius Bitok, over challenges facing public schools, and he accused Julius Bitok of presiding over failures that have stalled reforms and strained school operations nationwide. I want you to have this, that the main function of the Education Principal Secretary is to implement policies, manage daily operations, and control finances, and the Cabinet Secretary, who also has a lot of things to do. But among those things that he has to do is one of them being having power over budgetary allocation. And I want you to listen to this before I continue.
Ukishamaliza health na elimu, basi fanya mambo mengine kilomita. Na tukiwa hapo, nataka kumshukuru waziri wa elimu. Anajaribu sana huyo bwana anaitwa Mikosi. Lakini hata akijaribu, iko PS hapo ambaye amekuwa kichwa sijui namna gani. Yeye badala ya kusavu wa Kenya anataka kwenda kuwa gavana wa Sindisho. Wakati bunge napitisha pesa iende infrastructure, pesa ya mashule, yeye anarudi anakaa hapo Ministry of Education, anabadilisha hiyo pesa, anapeleka pesa eneo moja hapa Kenya. Mheshimiwa Rais, Bitok hata kusaidia katika Ministry of Education. He is rogue. He is a politician. Muachilie aende aonane na kina Mandago huko nje, utafute mtu ambaye atakusaidia kazi. Ikiendelea hivyo huyu Migo Samba anafanya kazi mzuri sana, pia yeye atakwama.
You know, the president is eyeing for some votes from a certain region, and because he doesn't have a way of getting them, the simplest way of getting them is by giving one of their leaders a certain docket in the government or a certain docket in these ministries, so that those people can see that, yes, our son has been taken and given a job. So we have to support that government because they have given our son something. And that is what the president is trying to do with this episode of Julius Bitok's case over incompetence issues that are claimed to have affected the education sector. And I want to tell you something very simple that I once said, that you know, the problem that is encountered in the education sector, starting from Elimu House, cannot be entitled to one person. And that is something I said in this channel. The problems faced in that education sector, those are problems that cannot be entitled to one person. And now, as you see, I'm wondering how there is a problem in my home, but the person being blamed is my son, but not I myself. So the person who should be controlling that home is me, not my son. Although I know that example is not related to the issue right now, but I just want you to get that clear and get to understand it better. Why I'm telling you that this is president's way of trying to get rid of the principal secretary of education from the office. You know, it is well known. Yes, I have power over financial control in that sector, but my boss also has power over budgetary allocation. But let me ask you, if my boss has allocated certain amount to go to a certain school, then I fail to take that money to direct that money to that place. Do you want to tell me that the boss will not come to confirm if the money he allocated had already been sent to the school? And you know, the reason why I'm telling you these problems cannot be directed on one person is because recently the president talked about the grade 10 transition, where he said the heads of schools should just allow these students back in the schools either with or without money and with or without uniforms. And he said there very well, he said clearly that they have released 44 billion Kenyan shillings to the schools to ease or to cater for grade 10 transitioning. And I want to ask you a very simple question. Can you tell me, in that your school, can you tell me if even 10,000 has been sent to that school? Let us just talk of reality for once as Kenyans. Can you tell me, prove to me, that even 100,000 Kenya shillings has been sent to a certain school? And that is the president, not even the cabinet secretary of education, and not even the principal secretary of the education being accused of these issues. So are you trying to tell us that the 30 billion Kenya shillings that the government received from the World Bank that was supposed to help in transitioning the grade 10 students, that money, are you trying to tell us that that money, it went direct to the principal secretary of education's account? Because you are trying to tell us how incompetent he is by giving us some reasons which, if a normal person looks into those reasons, it is clearly visible that it is just a way of finding the person out of the office, but no any other reason. It is not because I'm trying to defend the principal secretary of education, but for once, I've told you, for once, we as Kenyans, let us just talk of the reality. Recently, in the Ministry of Health, there was 11 billion Kenya shillings that was lost under SHA scheme just 6 months after enrollment of the SHA scheme. Why is it that Aden Duale, who is the cabinet secretary of that ministry, has not been arrested? Why is it that he has not been charged? But on the education side, where there is no money that has been lost under the watch of the principal secretary, or if I may say, the money that has been lost there cannot be compared to that has been lost in the Ministry of Health, but you are still defying this person of his incompetence, but that other person you are not talking about. All these problems cannot be put on one person. These problems, they do start from the top going down. Because tell me, if I'm the person who is supposed to send that money to those schools, but you are the person who is supposed to give me that money to send it, then you don't give me that money. Tell me how I am incompetent there. Can you please tell me how incompetent the person becomes if the money that he is supposed to be given to send has not been given to him? So, do you want me to send my money? And even if I decide to send my money, can it be enough? You see? And that is why I say the problem in education sector cannot be directed to one person. And instead of giving us these complaints, just go direct and proceed with what you want to do instead of giving us these claims. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this podcast.